Sometimes I think about the fact that my faith as an individual would not be what it is today. It probably wouldn't even exist if it hadn't been for the people who have come before me in my family and in my ancestry. Not only my parents, but my grandparents and their parents. And, maybe some of us, or all of us, can go centuries back and at least find some believers along the way in the family line who were responsible for keeping the faith going which has come down to us today. Since the time of Christ, there have been holy men and women who have kept the faith alive in their own ways. There have been priests and religious, theologians, saints who've handed on the faith to others. There have been teachers, friends, family members who have modeled the faith for us so that we would know how to live that faith. With all the believers who have preceded us, we would not have faith, most likely. We know from our readings today that ultimately it is God who gives faith to people. Jesus says no one can approach him unless it comes from the Father. It's the work of the Holy Spirit, too, in our hearts that prompts us to want to draw closer to God. But we can't really do this on our own power. We also need other people to introduce us to Christ. And they do that by their words and their actions. By their example, they really extend the invitation for us to have a relationship with the Lord. This was the case with the eunuch, the story that we have in our first reading today. He obviously had an interest in the faith of Israel because he was reading from the scroll of the prophet Isaiah. But he couldn't really go any further in his faith development because he didn't have anybody to help him. He needed somebody to explain to him what those scriptures meant. So the Holy Spirit prompted Philip to give instruction to the eunuch. Philip explained how those scriptures pertained to Christ. And Philip must have made good progress in his instruction because the eunuch requests baptism right away, which Philip did for him. So in turn, that eunuch probably then took his newfound faith to the people of his homeland. That's how the faith spreads. And isn't it true that each of us, like Philip, are the ones who really do the work in drawing other people into a faith relationship with Christ? Aren't we the ones inspired by the Holy Spirit who invite people to consider Christ, to be baptized, to become Catholic, to receive the Eucharist? We do that not only by our words, but by the example of our own lifestyle. God begins the work, I think, of moving people's minds and hearts in the right direction. And then we come into the picture of also by God's prompting to help bring that faith to fruition in other people. Think about the numbers of people who have faith because of our invitation. We may not even know that we have inspired some people to take up the faith and to be inspired by Christ. So just as we rely on the examples of holy men and women who have preceded us, so too others rely on us to hand on to them what we believe. By our holiness, other people can come